Hello and welcome to this overview of FortiSIEM and FortiDeceptor integration. First of all, a recap on the two technologies. FortiDeceptor is a deception technology that complements an organization's ability to detect a breach or an attack within the environment. It uses decoys to deceive and lure the attacker, and then allows you to learn those adversaries and expose those attackers. As a result of that, you can get fewer alerts, increase the cost of attackers' effort within the organization by luring them to these deception technologies, and cut down the overall breach detection time. FortiSIEM allows you to bring those FortiDeceptor logs directly into a central platform that you can apply correlation to, you can visualize in dashboards, or report on the activity seen. As well as that, you'll have additional context from other Fortinet products within the portfolio integrated into FortiSIEM and third-party logs as well, providing this overall central platform for investigation. To configure the integration with FortiSIEM in FortiDeceptor is a straightforward process of configuring syslog to forward to FortiSIEM. So log into your FortiDeceptor, go to the logging servers, enter the IP address of your FortiSIEM, whether that's the supervisor node or your collector nodes depending on your architecture, and click OK, and it should start forwarding events off to FortiSIEM and starting to populate the rules, the dashboards, and be able to be used in reporting. So let's move across and have a look at this in FortiSIEM. Now that we've logged into FortiSIEM and moved to the Security Fabric dashboards and looking at the FortiDeceptor dashboard, we can quickly visualize the number of attackers. These are the top attackers targeting a decoy. And similar, the victim are the number of events that we're seeing targeting a particular decoy. We understand the services, the IPS attacks to decoys from sources to their destinations. We understand process executions, processes that are being launched on RDP or SSH sessions. So we can report on and represent in these dashboards the information received from the FortiDeceptor. And ordinarily, we'd expect this dashboard to be quite empty, because the FortiDeceptor generating events that are populating these widgets would indicate that there is likely to be malicious activity within the network. Very unlikely that this to be a false positive. So something you probably need to take an action upon. Now you may see this populated if you've deployed your FortiDeceptor and then exposing certain services on those decoys out to the internet, which you might be using to gather additional intelligence about what actors and attacks are targeting your network from an external source. And that's quite useful, because then you can start to build up watch lists within FortiSIEM and correlating and referencing that detail in other correlations within FortiSIEM itself. So you could be looking at users that we've seen targeted on a decoy, populate that in a watch list, and then look for any VPN logons where we've seen that user which has been targeted. So we can take any of these dashboard widgets and drill down into more information. So let's look at SSH here. So now that we've drilled down into the widgets, into analytics, we can see the raw events, and the information within that event itself has been passed out into different attributes within FortiSIEM. But what we don't immediately have displayed here is the source and the destination IP address, which might be something we need to understand. We can quickly add that in by loading a group by in display fields template. Let's load the source IP address, and we can customize these values and add in the destination IP address. So this quickly allows us to understand the source of the attacks and the destination. And this could be exported as a PDF if we wanted to. We could even save this as a report and add it back into the dashboard for an initial view. Now, what we probably want to be notified of is if there is a SSH session that's connecting to a honeypot or an RDP session. Now, if we move across into the rules in FortiSIEM, and look for some of the Deceptor rules, the FortiDeceptor rules, which are available. We have rules that will tell us if we see any SSH logons to a decoy. Similarly, if we see RDP or see certain OT protocols being used against a decoy, we'll generate an incident as well. So let's take a look at an incident where one of these rules has triggered. So under the list view, which is one of the views available to present incidents within FortiSIEM, we can see that there have been SSH logons to a decoy. And if we have a look at the details of the instance, we can see it's an SSH logon from a particular IP address. We understand what decoy reporting IP address is. We understand a little bit more information about the host as well, and also the subcategory, the tactic within the MITRE attack framework. We can then view the events and see what the raw events were that caused this rule to trigger. And from here, we can choose to take an additional action. If we wanted to, we could remediate this incident and automatically block this IP address on the firewall. In addition, because we've seen this SSH logon, we're also going to add this to a watch list, what I mentioned earlier. So let's just go back and look at our resources and see how this is configured in the rule. So looking at the SSH logon rule, we'll have a look at the condition. We can see that this is based off of an event pattern. We're looking for a certain type of event. And because we shouldn't see any SSH logons to decoys, we're going to notify or generate the incident if we just see a single event occur. And as part of the action that's defined here, we're going to add the source IP address to the honeypot watch list. So let's check out this honeypot watch list and see what's in it. Now looking at this honeypot match, we can see that we've got these values that have been added by the triggering rule. And now we can also use this to see if there's been any other activity from these IP addresses. So we can reference this watch list in analytics. So here we're going to see if there's been any other activity from the particular source IP address in that watch list. And now as a result of running this report, we're just referencing the source IP address. We can actually see that there's been other activity, not just regarding SSH, but other IPS attacks, Modbus activity as well. And this event information is already coming from the Deceptor. Now it would also report back if we saw any other activity such as firewall activity, potential authentications against Windows servers, simply by referencing that IP address or that honeypot match watch list. So I hope that's been helpful. A quick overview of FortiSIEM and FortiDeceptor integrations and some of the capabilities that are available out of the box.